Thing going live. Here we go. Okay, the quick spine show interview with my friend Rick Olderman. We've done about probably 3 or 4 shows together before. He has another new book out. I love because as we go from switching from in-person health to more telehealth, especially since COVID, he's a phenomenal job transitioning from a private practice to more helping people online in video. I'm assuming too get themselves healthier. So let's talk about your book. Give you a quick intro right here. Rick Olderman has been on my show several times to help us get our bodies healthy. Today, I want to know how his new book called Pain Patterns, Why You Are in Pain and How to Stop It, helps the average person understand the sources of their pain and then independently heal themselves. If you suffer from pains from the lower body that return spontaneously, this this book will give you the step-by-step to fix the underlying movements causing your pain for a lifelong relief and results. Let's get into it, Rick. Tell me again, why did you write this other book versus having other books just sit out there and get more people from that?
First of all, thanks, Dr. Tony, for having me on your great show. I love it.
Always.
I love talking to you. I think we're kindred spirits.
Agreed.
Yeah. So this book kind of came as a surprise to me.
Mhm.
And, it's really interesting. I sold my clinic a couple years ago, and I've been doing a lot of telehealth. And what happened was, it's not that the information, what I've been using to help people has changed.
Okay.
It's my realization of what people have been missing has changed.
Ah,
And so I felt like, even though I may have some similar exercises and stuff in here, I didn't give people a blueprint to understand their particular pain patterns and pain problems.
got it.
Instead, I was just, well, here's a whole bunch of exercises you can do, right? To fix this, that, or the other. But I had no way I wasn't showing people, hey, you need to be focusing on this or that. So the tests and exercises in this book help, people dig down really quickly to a deep fundamental problem in their body that's causing their pain patterns or their problems.
It almost like you're giving them now the step-by-step, not just a theory of how, if you have this, do this. If you have this, where it's coming from, now you give them that fast track to go, hey, here now, when I work with a physical therapist, either with Rick yourself or someone else, I know exactly what to tell them what to do.
Exactly. And so, I realized, so last time we talked, we mentioned that I have these digital home programs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just like, okay, here are the exercises that should solve most things. And I'm just like, why aren't people getting this? And I'm just like, and I kept getting questions. Which exercise? I've got them right there. You just do those exercises and it'll solve your pain. And so I'm just like, what is going on here? Because originally, Dr. Tony, I created this program where people would do these tests and then I would spit out automatically the exercises that they should do based on the results of those, but no one wanted to do the tests. So I thought, okay, I'll make the exercise home program just the exercises that solve almost all chronic pain.
You want to back it up a little bit. Got
Right.
it. Okay.
But that didn't work either, because I realized that people weren't understanding what they should be focusing on. And so now I finally come out with this book to kind of really guide people. They're going to see very clearly what the problem is that's causing their chronic pain. So I'm really excited about this one. And plus, I also bring into more, I've never really written about this before, but I've brought together the movement science, the fascial science, and the neurophysiology together to show how these things, all three areas combine to form these three patterns of problems in our bodies that are causing almost all chronic back, sciatic, SI joint pain, and so forth. So I give that's the first part of the book that goes into all of that. And I put some citations in there to make medical providers happy too, because they like to see research.
It's more professional, I guess.
Exactly. But the second half of the book is where the juice is. And that's where people actually get to test themselves. They record their answers. I give them the exercises to fix that problem specifically if they have found a problem in that test. And I show how that test relates to the fundamental pain pattern that they have causing their pain. So I feel like I've given them like that whole map of why am I having pain? How can I figure it out? Okay, now what to do about it. And so I'm excited about it.
It's almost you're giving someone either with a medical background or not medical background, every layer of literature or ability to understand where the problem's coming from. Even taking here's information, Dr. So-and-so, neurologist, ortho, whatever it is too. This is exactly what I have going on. This is how I'm going to explain it to you through Rick's book, so you understand where it's coming from. Also on the same page to get the same result of healing my back or my pain, whatever it might be.
Yeah, yeah, and so this is, I can't emphasize enough how unusual it is to find any book that has put this information together before. Because in science, and you know this, Dr. Tony, we tend to stay in our silos of research, right? Mm-hmm. Chiropractic stays in chiropractic, PT stays in PT, fascia stays in fascia, neurophysiology, etc. So because I was so unsuccessful as a physical therapist helping people with chronic pain, I had to continue looking across silos of information to understand what it was I was missing. And once I finally landed on this neurophysiological part of it, I'm just like, oh my God, this is it. And so that allowed me to tie everything together and understand why these things are happening in people. And so it's just been huge. And it is a completely unique approach to understanding the body. I really am excited.
Are you still teaching too, Rick?
Yeah, well, I don't teach at schools.
Okay.
So because I sold my
clinicians,
because I sold my clinic, I'm not teaching therapists directly, but I do have my practitioner's course that teaches therapists. And, you know, I love interacting with therapists who are taking my course to help them implement this in the clinic too. So that's the extent of my teaching right now.
It's almost giving the clinicians, maybe physical therapists, the chiropractor, even massage therapists too, anybody who touches people and helps them heal from a physical standpoint, ability to understand for themselves the neurological, the fascia, everything involved, so they can either explain to their clients or have better understanding for themselves that it may take longer to heal, may take maybe other avenues of healing. If this doesn't work, try this, try this, try this. You're giving them a better perspective of the physiology first, I'm assuming, that when they understand how to help that person.
Yeah, but you know, when we talk about those terms, Dr. Tony, it sounds like, oh my gosh, this sounds really heavy.
It's like for us.
Yeah, it's not heavy though. I mean, I'm just touching lightly on all of this stuff. You don't need to be a fascial researcher to understand this, or a neurophysiologist to understand this. You just need to see what the connections are. And once you see how it all plays out as one problem in the body, you don't need to, well, is this a fascial problem or is this a neurophysiological problem, you know, or is it a movement problem? Well, you don't have to divide it up like that. It's all so simplified. I'm, you know, I get overly excited about it.
It's almost like you're seeing everything come together and come together. Okay, now how do we make sure that person heals by knowing, understanding the whole body, all parts of their body, how it affected their either short-term, long-term healing if they have an acute or chronic injury for one too. And explain to me too, how does chronic pain versus, I guess, normal pain or acute pain, how would you explain it to a normal person, say, coming into, say, your previous clinic? How would you explain that?
Yeah, so normally we have, our bodies are great at self-healing, right? And we mentioned this in our last conversation together. You cut yourself and it heals. You break a bone and it'll mend. So all of these things, we have all of the elements of self-healing within us already.
Good.
And usually all of those things happen within that 3-month period.
Perfect.
If there's pain occurring after 3 months.
More than 3 months, got it. Okay.
Yeah, it usually means that there's some obstacle to healing that hasn't occurred. And so that hasn't been addressed, I mean. And so what we have to do is figure out what those obstacles are. Well, in medicine, and this is one thing I just wrote a blog recently, and it was in the WHO, World Health Organization, estimates that there are 619 million people in the world with back pain. And I'm going to guess that at least 99% of those people have all sought treatment for the back pain, but they still have it. Now, there are a lot smarter people in medicine than me. So that must mean that we must be missing something in our approach to back pain. And I believe that this understanding, bringing an understanding of our body's architecture across all these different areas of research, is what we've been missing. And so to go back to your question, this is why we have chronic pain, is not only because, you know, something is wrong that's inhibiting healing that we have to uncover, but we're not finding these things because we're not understanding the larger system of how we function architecturally as a body. And so this book kind of lays that out in a very simple, fast way and takes you through definitive tests to determine these things.
You're saving someone seeing their primary doctor and then referred to a neurologist. Well, before that, I'll probably get x-rays done, MRI done, neurology, and then an orthopedist. You're saving someone probably about 4 or 5 months of seeing doctors before getting treatment.
Yes.
It's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. Well, not only that, but I recently had a toe injury. All right.
Ugh.
So it's a chronic fascial problem. All right. I go to a podiatrist.
Okay.
And he touched it's my fourth toe. So ding ding, he's automatically thinking, oh, this is a Morton's neuroma. I said, okay, but he never even did any test. And
Okay.
I said, well, does a Morton's neuroma cause a loss of range of motion in a toe? No. Well, does a Morton's neuroma cause loss of strength in a toe? No. Does Morton's neuroma have this pattern of pain that happens as a result? No. But you think it's a Morton's neuroma? Yes, because it's my fourth toe. Exactly. And so he gave me a cortisone shot. I said, well, also, so if this cortisone shot helps, we don't really know whether it helps because it's a Morton's neuroma. You're just flooding the system with cortisone. And so it's not really going to tell us anything definitively, right? He's like, yes. So this is what people are facing in medicine, is because, we have our lanes of thinking, right? And if there's something unusual happening that's out that we can't pick up on a scan, because I had an MRI of my toe, I had an X-ray of my toe, nothing torn, nothing broken, and so everyone's just like,
good to know, but yeah,
just like, I have no idea what it is then. So if it doesn't, so this is where this really gave me insight as to what people are going through in medicine with chronic pain. It's like, yes, I've had thousands of scans. Yes, I've been to tons of practitioners, but everyone's looking at me the same way. This information in this book will open their eyes to what they have not been looked at before. And so that's why I'm so excited about it.
You're almost helping someone become, I call it being their best doctor for themselves, to understand their problem and how long-term how to fix it versus waiting for more medication. This doesn't work, we'll try something else. It's almost like they're just throwing darts at your body, hoping things will heal medically, versus actually looking at the deep root of the problem for one.
And you're right, Dr. Tony. I know that you treat this way too, is that you test to understand what the problem is, right? Before you start throwing things at it. And
I'm not going to adjust someone's neck just because they want their neck adjusted. Let's figure out what the heck happened to make your neck stiff, tight, sore. Is it acute? Is it chronic? Do you have other stuff going on that can be red flags for the adjustment, actually more beneficial?
So I did an interview with a PT, and he says, well, you have back pain, you're going to try this, you're going to try that, you're going to try. I said, wait, wouldn't it be better to know rather than just try?
Yeah.
And he's just like, huh? I said, well, you're talking about trying a whole bunch of different things. This is why people end up with books this thick of exercises to do, is because I feel, at least in physical therapy as a profession, we're moving away from definitive testing of systems and moving more to just testing a tissue, right? And not understanding why that tissue is under duress. And so, my comment to him was, when you understand how the body works as a system, you don't have to try things, because you'll know what the problem is when you test it. And that's what I've tried to put into this book, is a knowledge of what is wrong rather than a guessing of what is wrong.
And I think a lot of it is I don't want to be paid by the hour. I want to be paid by the effectiveness of helping someone get better. If it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, based on what's going on in their body. So once you, like you said, once you have the proper testing done, and then you can move forward with the proper treatment right away. There's no guessing game.
Yes.
That didn't work. Okay, may not have worked as well. Let's try this instead. But it's almost like you have definitive, I want to call it diagnosis, what the problem is from the specific issue, but also the person's overall maybe lifestyle to help them with both, so it doesn't happen again.
Yes. So Dr. Tony, my question to you is, like, how many tests do you have to test tissues in your practice? Tissue problems? Probably tons.
Mid back, low back, maybe 20, 25.
Okay.
But as I take the x-rays, the examination, the interview for one too, that gets narrowed down to about 10%.
Okay. So of that 10% of tests, do they tell you why those problems are happening?
The test itself, or
the test itself?
No, I figured it out by myself.
Exactly.
My job.
That's what I feel is missing in medicine, because if you don't have a complete understanding of how the body is functioning, and you would think we would with all of our training, right? But all of our training
training's great for to pass the boards, I think.
Yes.
And that's about it.
Yeah. Our training has been focused on identifying tissues that are damaged.
Boom,
That's
boom,
our
boom.
focus,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But none of our tests, at least in physical therapy that I know of, are explaining why the tissue is damaged.
Very similar.
All right.
Same chiropractic.
So this is, if you don't understand why something is happening, how can you really fix it? And so that's what this book is showing. It's giving you the tests to figure out why all of these problems are happening, why the tissues are under distress, and how to fix those problems.
And moving on to explain, you mentioned initially to the connection of neuropathy, chronic pain, and fascia. What is fascia when explain to someone, say a patient or someone looking to get help?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up because we didn't touch on this the last conversation. Nope. So I've learned a lot about it since. And fascia is just basically connective tissue in the body that connects everything to everything. So it's a really important to understand that fascia goes all the way down to the muscle cell. It wraps around our sarcomeres, our muscle cells. All right. So it goes as deep as that and as superficial as holding our skin to our body. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you can have little webs of fascia, and you can have sheets of fascia, like the plantar fascia on the bottom of your foot or the IT band on the side of your leg, right? Those are sheets of fascia. And so the reason fascia is important is because it complements muscular activity. And there's a type of fascia in particular called myofibroblasts that have up to 6 times the contractile capacity of regular fascia. Mm. So the interesting thing about myofibroblast, those are laid down in areas of mechanical stress in the body.
Got it.
So the low back is a natural area of mechanical stress because we have changes in curve direction of our spine and pelvis at that point. And we have a relatively large pelvis and a relatively small spinal column, so that the junction of those two things undergoes a lot of mechanical stress. So myofibroblasts are naturally laid down in our low back area. Okay. The interesting thing about myofibroblasts is they do not contract from nerve signals like our muscles do. Okay. If we tell our biceps to contract to bend our elbow, it contracts, and then our brain gives us a message to relax, and it relaxes. But myofibroblasts receive their communication from things called cytokines, which are hormone-like molecules in the bloodstream.
Got it. Okay.
Cytokines are released when we're under stress. So if we are under stress, increased cytokine production in our bloodstream then finds its targets in our myofibroblasts, in our low back, or other areas of mechanical stress in the body, that then creates this slow ramping up of muscular or contraction, irrespective of our neural input to those muscles. And then consequently, there's also a slower ramping down of that contraction too. So we can be left with tension in our back, even though our muscles are not contracting. Okay. This is why I believe we have emotional issues that can be housed in our bodies, is because of this myofibroblast phenomenon in our bodies. It can happen anywhere that there's mechanical stress in the body.
It's almost like you're connecting something that isn't talked about a lot, is the brain's direct connection to the muscle based on someone's emotional stress, but their hormonal stress levels, for one, that may be affected by their emotional stress. At that point, now their body has shifted to a fight or flight stress state. Now they're going to be under constant stress until you remove that stress. At that point, then their cytokines can relax, make that body become, if you want to call it, more stress-free.
Yeah. So how often, I mean, it's ubiquitous when we hear the term mind-body connection. Oh, the mind and body are connected.
Yeah.
But there's no one that talks about how it's connected, right? And if you talk to almost every massage therapist, and I don't know if you've had this example, but I have in my clinic, of people having emotional reactions to a particular treatment of a particular area of their body that brings up some trauma that they have experienced earlier. And they're just like, why in the world did I just think of that? Mm-hmm. This is I believe, if not it's a pathway of how emotional issues, anxiety, stress, PTSD, all sorts of things like that can get housed in the body and kept there because of this myofibroblast phenomenon, and also how it can be released. Because if you remember, the myofibroblasts are laid down in mechanically stressed areas of the body. So that means that part of that laydown is due to how we're moving and using our body. Yes. It's not just willy-nilly laying down in any area. It's not just a fascial problem. It's a movement problem. And then this is also connected to our neurophysiology reflex patterns that we're born with, deep hardwiring in our bodies.
Taking notes. Yep.
So anyway, this to me explains why that there are some people who have a larger emotional or anxiety or PTSD component to their pain than other people, and why all back pain isn't from an emotional issue. It's not, and all back pain isn't from a mechanical issue. Some people, it's a mix of both. And so if you go into any...
Right? So interdependent with their posture, their movement patterns, or lack of movement patterns from one, two. So if you reverse that, that may be a way to reverse those myofibroblasts to actually get them to relax more.
You're exactly right.
That everything too.
You're exactly right. Yeah. So if you go to any bookstore, let's say you're under duress of any kind, there's 3 basic areas of books that you're going to find in some self-help section of the bookstore, medical section.
Yeah.
One is a physical movement kind of book, stretches, yoga, things like that. One is dietary, right? And the third is psychological. Well, all 3 in this book, I've tried to bring all 3 of these areas together under one umbrella as an explanation for people's chronic pain, because it all matters.
It's almost, you're giving someone a way to understand where it's coming from and then how to release it. I want to call it not simple form, but a simple way to explain it to them so you can take action right away to feel the results.
Yes, it's help them understand where it's coming from, how that translates into their pain pattern, and then how to test where the problems are that are feeding that pain pattern.
And let's get into it then too. What is the most common movement posture, I guess, problem or pain pattern that you would see, say, right now through telehealth or previously in your practice?
You mean for back pain?
For back pain, yeah.
Okay, so we talked about this on our last show. The 2 most common pain patterns are extension problems and side bending problems.
Going backwards, exactly. Backwards. Yeah. Okay.
So extension problems mean that basically you have more back pain because your back is either too arched. All right. We have natural curves in our lumbar spine, so it's either too arched or there are too many forces trying to pull it into an arch. All right. Okay. And last time we talked about standing up and walking with locked knees as one of those habits that creates excessive arching in the back.
Got it.
All right. And folks, if you want to go back and listen to that episode, I thought it was a great episode, but I'm a little biased.
And then maybe just a little bit. I'll link that in the show too afterwards too. Okay, good.
And then the second pattern, the second pattern has to do with more one-sided back pain or one-sided sciatic pain or one-sided SI joint pain.
Got it. Okay.
And that pattern is called a side bending problem, which typically means that one side of the pelvis is higher and the same side rib cage is lower, which increases compression on that side of the spine. All right. Now, this is typically misdiagnosed as a leg length discrepancy, but it is not a true leg length discrepancy. It is a functional discrepancy, meaning that it is a compensation pattern created by your brain to get around problems in 70 to 80% of the cases in the same leg, and in 20 to 30% of the cases from the opposite leg. So those are the 2 patterns that I identify most with most of my telehealth people, and then that's at the root of most chronic pain.
And you have the workbook available too, right? The workbook with you?
Yeah, it's the second half of the same book.
Can you open to that page how it explained that in your workbook?
Yeah, so how I explain side bending problems?
Side bending problems or extension problems in your workbook.
So extension problems, and so the way I've organized the book is chapter 2 goes through the movement patterns that
Okay.
talks about extension, flexion, and rotation problems. Chapter 3 talks about the fascial patterns. And then chapter 4 talks about the neurophysiological reflex patterns that brings them all together. All right.
Okay.
So what I show, and then in chapter 6, you test for an extension problem, which we did on your show last time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And in chapter 7, you test for a side bending problem, which we also did on your show. Well, I don't think we did it on your show last time.
No, just more than the other one. Yep.
Yeah. So the testing of those things is here, chapter 6.
Okay.
Right. And the other nice thing is that all the photos and illustrations are in color. So it makes it so much more enjoyable to read. But anyway, that's the test for, I'm trying to get it right.
Good.
There we go.
You got it. You got it.
That's the test for extension problems.
Okay.
All right. And the side bending problem, there's the testing for side bending problems. And simply, I show you how to either take a photo of your back, and your photo will look like one of these two people.
Mm-hmm.
With a larger crease on one side of the waist than the other. That's a classic sign of a side bending problem.
Yep.
Or if you have someone in your house or are seeing a physical therapist, massage therapist, so forth, I show you the hands-on method of
testing the iliac
the iliac crest and the rib cage.
Perfect.
And then for all the exercises and tests in the book, I have them as videos on my website that takes you through it so you understand really what's going on. So the thing that I'm really excited about also is that, like in this chapter 4, and you won't understand this from our brief conversation, but I show the movement and the fascia issues that are contributing to each of the 3 patterns. So I show you, I kind of hold your hand and take you through, here's the thinking, all right? And then in chapter 4, it brings it all together and says, this is why we have these 3 patterns. And you're going to fall into 1 or 2 of those 3 patterns. And then I show you how to test for it.
It's almost you're giving either someone who wants to be in healthcare or obviously take care of their own body, all ways possible to see, understand through reading, and also watch videos. So there's no way they can't understand it.
Exactly. I'm really, you and I both believe this, is that people didn't get where they are because of your fault or my fault. They got where they are because of how they're using their bodies, right? Mm-hmm. And so, they should be able to correct their bodies too. The problem is that we in medicine, I don't believe, have understood how our bodies actually function from a larger perspective, from a movement, fascia, and neurological reflex pattern point of view. This is what I think we've been missing in medicine. And I know it sounds like so egotistical for me to say something like that, but I really believe because of my success clinically and seeing my therapist's success using this information, and all the people who just have read my books or tried my programs or whatever, their success, I know that it works. We in medicine just need to understand how it all happens. And
I know it works because I hear so many people going to their doctor, physical therapy, even chiropractor too, and they're not getting the results because the doctor, the I want to call it clinician for one, isn't explaining what's going on, and their mindset, like you had mentioned, is this one thing, this one problem. It's not looking at the broader picture of that person, their lifestyle, their movement patterns, what they do every day, what's their job, what's their physicality or lack thereof for one too. They don't ask those questions, so how would they know how to pinpoint what the problem might be?
Well, and why aren't they asking those questions, Dr. Tony? Because we're trained in component thinking, because we're trained to identify a tissue that is the problem. Even if they ask the right questions, they're not trained to understand what the answers to those questions mean, right? Yeah. So it's such a larger problem. Yes, they're all intelligent people and probably know a lot more about the body than I do, but they don't understand how it's all put together. And we kind of talked about this last time, is that we as practitioners bring our own biases to our practice about what should work and what doesn't work. And so we ignore research that doesn't support our bias, and we filter everything through what our belief system is. And so the people who miss out on that because of that are our patients, right? And so what I find is a lot of practitioners, if they're not getting people better, they kind of start forgetting about those people. Those people just drift off their schedules, right? Yeah. And they don't think about them anymore. Well, those are the people that I've been seeing, is the people that have been drifting off of everyone's schedule.
You, Rick. They want some help.
Yeah.
They want help.
I just had a woman an hour ago with chronic right thoracic and scapular pain. And just no one could figure it out. And we determined what it was in about 5 minutes. And, it's just like, it's not because I'm smarter. It's because of my understanding, my outlook on how our bodies work. And it's a combination of this movement, fascia, neural reflex stuff.
But I think the way you think is, this is, say, Mary, whatever it is, too. I don't know what Mary's problem is. Let me listen to her whole problem, then use all three, I want to call it, parts of my brain to now give her my way to figure out the problem, versus you have a fourth toe, it's Martin's neuroma, no problem. I don't know. We're done. Next thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no. Give the person a chance to explain their problem. Sometimes they may explain something initially, then 2 minutes later, like, let me detail that for you. When you give someone time to explain their problem, sometimes they can relax in your environment, and now you can have time to listen to them, respond to their concerns. Now give them time to relax more. Now more things opens up. Yeah. This is why I want to call psychology. They require at least 5 sessions to find your problem.
Yes.
Your doctor requires only 5 minutes. They're not smarter. They just have less results that are good results.
Right. And the thing is, Dr. Tony, I believe, is that, for instance, I spent the first 20 minutes listening to her history, just like you were talking about, right?
Yes.
So I'm looking for clues in her history to explain what are likely the problems going on here from a systems standpoint.
Exactly.
But what other, I believe, medical professionals are doing is they're listening to that same history, and they're trying to identify the tissues that are damaged. Well, I'm not interested in the tissues. I'm interested in why the tissues are damaged.
It's
knowing which tissues are damaged is easy.
Yeah, nice. Easy. But what's going on? What makes that tissue damaged? What is everything else around? It's not dependent of the whole thing.
Yes.
Your toe is not dependent of your foot or your ankle of your leg.
Right.
It's like, find out the big picture. That just frustrates me, because the same thing. I get people from other chiropractors, medical doctors. I had someone come in, not a chiropractor, my patients, seen for a while, because it took him, his doctors, 6 months to identify, even through not his doctors, through outside his care network, a double hernia.
Wow.
6 months. They had a family friend in Texas, I'm up in Southern California, that was a radiologist specialist. Within 5 minutes, he diagnosed the problem once he had the imaging, versus the first doctor saw him, only went off the radiologist report, didn't look at the x-rays himself.
Wow. Are you talking about an inguinal hernia or a spinal
hernia? Double hernia.
Yeah.
Wow. In the groin area. So because all the doctors looked at the report of the radiologist, not the actual imaging and the person, they never examined the person. So 6 months he had spent in pain, getting no diagnosis at all.
And this is where your education is better than mine. I have not been trained to read x-rays, right?
But again,
or MRIs.
I don't know MRIs either, but I understand, okay, this is where the problems might be. I tell them, when you get the MRI, make sure you get the MRI of this area specifically, tell them this specifically, so you cut out the middleman.
Yes.
I get someone who comes in and I go, hey, get a neck x-ray. And they go, well, here's my MRI. I'm like, what's the heart of your brain? Well, I told the doctor I had headaches. I'm like, no, don't tell the doctor what you have, just tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Cut out the middle. At that point, it's almost like you have to give them exactly what to do to get the right diagnosis, because they're not going to do their job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it's not because they don't want to, I believe. Yeah. First of all, I think they're overloaded.
Yeah.
They're overloaded. They have X number of minutes, and their training combined, they can't give the thought. But I'm telling you, if you understand the body from a systems point of view, you work so much more quickly.
Efficient.
It's so efficient. And you can, instead of 10 visits, it's 2. It's just so much faster and better. So
it's almost like if they reviewed these doctors and they said how bad the results were, would they change their way of thinking to improve their care to get people better faster, or just at all?
Well, here's the answer to that, Dr. Tony. The
Mhm.
first question would be, where's the research to support this?
Yeah.
All right.
It's called
So,
patient care, people.
and so, I heard this term recently and I loved it. And instead of, because the buzzword is your practice must be evidence-based, right? Well, shouldn't evidence be practice-based too? There is no practice-based evidence in medicine. It's all evidence-based that's going to practice. But there's so much happening in our practices that is not reflected in research.
It only
Right?
goes one way. It doesn't circle back to, hey, we got the results. Let's keep doing the same thing. Or
Let's do some research to figure out why.
let's figure out why it's bad.
Yes, exactly. And so that's it. I get shut down all the time by doctors, physical therapists, what have you, because I can't cite research that says that the foot pronation or the plantar fasciitis in that left foot is what's causing the sciatic pain, because there's no research to support that. It's too many links, right, in the body.
I tell them, I'm going to have Mary call you, Dr. So-and-so, to tell you her results from my treatment. Oh,
yes. Well, guess what? That's only anecdotal evidence then, which is, again, discounted by medical professionals.
This is why we're busy, Rick, because people have gone away from that model and go, I'd rather pay out of pocket to actually get the right help than actually wait for doctors to give me the wrong help. And my quality of life gets lower and lower and lower and lower.
Yes. But where they're looking, those people haven't been trained in systems thinking either. Right. And so this is where the problem is. Well, maybe I'll go to yoga or massage therapy or Pilates or personal trainer or whatever, after they've been through us. And there's well, all of those people, all of their information is coming from medical research, which is where we got our information from. Right.
And some of them are more like, okay, yeah, I get the research, I get the schooling, but this will work for my clients. I think they're more open to it.
Yes.
Because they're not under the medical model. They're not being paid by their advisor, their insurance company. They're more like, it works for my clients, so they keep coming back to keep my clinic, my practice, my massage, my studio open.
Yeah, I think the beauty of those professions is that they are thinking more systems wide.
They're more
okay. Well, let's introduce some movement. Let's see what happens there. And these people are willing to go with that flow rather than being stuck in their rigid thinking.
More feedback from the clients or the patients actually.
Yes, right. So, my book is I hope it's a real eye opener. So I'm not interested in changing people's practice. I don't. You're a chiropractor. You have special tools that you use for your patients that are very effective, or you wouldn't be doing it. So do some physical therapists and massage therapists and acupuncturists and so forth. So I'm not trying to change people's practice. If they understand, I just feel that if they understood how things are put together from a systemic point of view, it'll make their practice so much better and faster and more efficient, and I think more cohesive with that person's lifestyle and goals. So, because, I'm not saying that everyone's wrong. I'm just saying, here's a bigger way of thinking about it all, right? So maybe think about this, do what you're doing, and think about it in this larger context. And that may inform you about why it's working, why it isn't working, and how to move forward.
You're giving someone a way to enjoy practicing because you're seeing happy patients.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, you and we talked about this last time. Yes. That look on that patient's face when you see hope come into their being again. And so this is the dance that I've kind of danced with this book, is that I put in a lot of citations and stuff to support the medical research supporting elements of what I'm talking about. But of course, there's no research that puts all this together because it's impossible, right? But the book is really written for people with chronic pain. And if a practitioner picks it up, hopefully they'll say, oh, this is really interesting, and it's cited. Oh my gosh, this stuff is real. It's not out of left field or anything. It's real stuff. He's just put it together in a unique way. And so, yes, that's exactly what it is. But the goal of the book is not for practitioners, although I would love that. The goal is really for people with pain.
And it's almost like being in healthcare too. It's harder to write a book like that because you have to think like a patient and get the mentality of
Yeah.
talking to doctors out of your head because it's a different way of thinking.
Yes.
If someone's in chronic pain, sometimes they're not going to think very in, I want to say in depth, but more they're in fight or flight. So now their body's thinking short term, what can I do to fix this thing? How do I get this thing better?
Yes. Yeah. And so you and I talked about this before you started recording, is that part of this book came about because I sold my clinic and have been doing a lot of telehealth and haven't been able to use my hands to help people solve pain. And so that informed me what they were missing, right? The information at the heart of what I was doing kind of became distilled through telehealth visits to solve problems, right? I'm just like, oh, this is how I can get there. This is what I've been doing in the clinic, right? But I wasn't aware I was doing that in a clinic, and this is how I need to do that same thing through telehealth now. And so that's where this book came from, in part, is my success with telehealth and understanding, kind of distilling the needs of people down to the essence of what they need to know.
And telehealth too, it can be either helpful or hurtful for the patient. The person behind the practitioner is actually listening to you and wanting to help you, or like you said, give you a quick fix. Take this antibiotic, take this drug, take this cortisone shot for one too. It's almost like your previous training, I'm assuming, helped you now help the person behind the screen, behind whatever it is, understand the problem. You see the results, then you move forward and move forward, move forward.
Yes, exactly.
It's amazing when that training that you did before, and not training you did before, but just to learn it on your own to get your systems down. Now, because when I had more of a layman's terms, now the book is just extension of that, of how you got people to understand and now fix their back pain. Are you going to fit another book on neck and upper back pain, shoulder pain now too?
So I've already written a book on neck pain and headaches, and then I have another one on shoulder and elbow pain. This book includes a chapter on neck pain and headaches and shoulder issues, but it's not the thrust of the book, because majority of people I found who are seeking help from me are people with back, sciatic, and SI joint issues.
Okay.
And fewer people with neck issues. However, this will definitely help them, because I even in the book link lower body problems to neck pain and headaches too.
It's all connected.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And I show them exactly how it's connected.
And talking about your videos too, once you buy the book and get into the book, how do the videos help them progress to actually helping treat their problems?
Yeah. So first of all, you need to test correctly.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
So having a video that shows you exactly how you should be testing yourself is really helpful. I explain it really well in the book. So if you don't have access to the internet, that's fine too. But I just find that I find most people, and this is why I created my home programs, because they're all videos of exercises and so forth. Because I just feel most people seem to like that video.
Well, they understand how in their own body, right? How they can actually help.
Yes. Yeah. And then, so the same goes with the exercises. Is a lot of people I've found skip over words in text, and they may even do so in video. But if I have it in text and in video, there's less of a likelihood of that happening.
Better compliance.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why, if you go to the website and you watch the videos, you'll feel more clear that you're doing this correctly, right? And so you can have more confidence in the answers that you're getting from those tests and the exercises, and understanding of why they're helping.
You're giving someone no way to fail because you have information with them for one too. If someone is, for example, okay, the books are great, the videos are great, can I still talk to Rick Olderman about my problem?
Of course. I mean, you can sign up to have a session with me on my website. But Dr. Tony, I mean, the people who I'm working with have been through so many practitioners and, have spent thousands and thousands of dollars. I don't want them to spend more money with me. If I've created a $20 book that will give them the same, I mean, the tests in the book are basically the tests that I would perform. And this is what I told the last person who asked to have a session with me.
Yeah.
Why don't you just spend $20 on my book?
Yeah.
Do all the tests there. That's what I would do with you anyway in our first session.
Yeah.
And if you still having troubles, then we can talk about having a session after that. But I'm trying to give everyone a cheaper way to understand why they're in pain. But of course some people just want to talk, just want that one-on-one with me, and that's fine too.
It's almost like, okay, the book's great, video's great, but I still want Rick to tell me what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Not that they're being lazy, it's more like they want the confidence that because they're maybe not confident with their own skills,
Sure,
am I doing the right thing?
Sure.
And different things with their doctor, other people too. They're like, I've done so many bad things. I just want someone to tell me exactly what I should be doing.
Yes. And having the one-on-one with me, I mean, there are nuances, of course, that come out where I can show more specifically in that person's home, what they're doing. We can test very specifically, but in many cases, you don't need that specificity. The book will explain that enough for you. And then the other thing, Dr. Tony, in my home programs, I offer an opportunity for people to have group coaching calls with me.
Awesome.
So those are only $20 for 4 sessions a month. And they're an hour session, and you get on there, but you're with a group of other people. Mm. And initially I thought that would frustrate people because, I've got to share my time with these people. But what I'm finding is people love having other people on those calls because they're learning from their questions and their problems too, and seeing things of themselves that they wouldn't have thought about in those sessions. So there's another cheap way of getting in touch with me, one-on-one, but it's in a group setting.
I want to call it less expensive, not cheap, because it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's not cheap. I know I'm not supposed to use that word.
It's almost like more support for their own problems. Because
Exactly.
it's like it's people with the same problems in the same group actually bring up more information. It's more exponential help versus just one-on-one.
Yeah, and I only offer that to the people who've bought my own programs because I don't want people starting at square one with other people who are at square 20, right? No. If you start with my home programs and use that, then we'll all be on the same page about what I've been asking you to do to solve your pain up until now, and then we can fine tune from there.
They haven't done the work yet. They just want to come in with questions that's too vague.
Exactly. I had a woman bring in her daughter one time on one of the calls, and her daughter asked him. I said, "Well, this is all already in the program. You know, other people are waiting to ask their questions. I would recommend that you just do the program first, to answer all of those questions, and then come back to me if something's not working. So.
And if someone really wants to help themselves, they're going to do the work.
Exactly. Yeah. Most people do want to help themselves, right? Mm-hmm. No one wants to be in pain.
Yeah. No.
So most people are highly motivated to do the work.
And when someone starts exercising your program and starts getting better, what's a time frame for the body to reset and really maintain a better state of health?
Well, Dr. Tony, it depends on what is causing their pain in the first place. Mm-hmm. So if they've identified and solved, all of the pain habits or just one of them, right? Okay. And if they're doing, all the exercises, or they just cherry pick the one or two that they like to do, right? So all of those have something to do with that output. But generally, usually within 7 days, I expect people to feel at least 50% better with whatever pain they have.
Exactly.
In 2 weeks, I would expect that to be 75 to 90% better. And then usually after that, most people then understand, these are the things that are really helping me. These are the things I'm going to change during my day, and I have to stay focused on those. Mm-hmm. And that's what carries them through to that last 100%. But those first 2 weeks, there's a lot of them unsure, what is it that's helping me? What isn't? And I teach them how to figure that out. And then, I want people to feel confident about why they're getting better so that they can do more of that and avoid the things that are hurting them better, identify those things.
It's almost you're helping them now, again, become their best doctor. Okay, this is what my physical therapist would do. I'm going to make you your best physical therapist for yourself and ask yourself the right questions. Is it helping? Is it hurting? Am I doing it the right way? How do I adjust it? What else can I be doing? That once you see the light go, hey, I'm getting better. Now what else I can do? You got them.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly. And it's so satisfying, as you know, when you do that. I had a woman who, was doing the program, and she had sciatic pain, but she, and she was doing everything I asked her to in the program, but it was only like 50% better, and it stayed 50% better for weeks and weeks. I'm just like, we're missing something. And finally she said, she got an individual session with me, and I did more expanded testing for her.
Okay.
And we identified it then. And within a week of that session, she was 100% better. And this is the expectation I have of people with chronic pain, is that we're identifying the blocks to you getting better. So if we remove the right blocks, you should feel an immediate change in your pain. There's none of this. I don't know if you've talked to people who have had platelet injections or stem cell. Well, we need to wait 6 or 8 months to see whether this is. It's just like, oh my gosh, there's so much that can happen.
I'm impatient. I can't wait that long.
Plus, you won't ever know definitively if that was the cause of you feeling better, or some other change in your habit, lifestyle, exercise, or whatever. So I believe in that instant. You should have that instant feedback. And I have a little thing in the book that shows you how to get that instant feedback too.
Is anything we had a long, detailed show, which I love. Anything I missed that you wanted to bring up to help people understand your book and how it can help them?
Well, the last thing that we haven't really talked about is the role of somatics in all of this. So tension is a big driver of people's repeated patterns of pain, right? Tension is driven by fascial changes, neurological changes, movement changes, and so forth. But what it really amounts to is that people are, and also emotional, issues too, generate tension in the body as well. And tension patterns follow in these same 3 patterns that I've identified in the book as the 3 main patterns that cause almost all pain. So in the book, I also offer 3 somatics lessons, audio lessons, that are on my website, so people can try that to see where, if I do this, if I identify that I have a side bending problem, and I'm doing that somatics lesson, audio lesson, that is reducing tension in my side bending pattern of problems, let's see how well I feel. And then, so this is like the last link that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, is that all of this is creating tension in their body, and that tension can lock their body in that position too. And I find that the somatics is a huge help to releasing the tension in certain patterns in our bodies. And so that is something that I haven't put in my other books either, and people will have access to.
Well, you've added like the videos, the audio for one too, the follow-ups from the books, giving someone, again, a way to not only understand their condition verbally through video, also audio too, and then recover for their body and maintain that, getting more access and repeating that process of healing, so it becomes their habit to understand how to keep their body healthy.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Like it's a no lose to get the book, just to understand, okay, what can I do on my own that isn't working right now? And the long term, how to make sure I don't repeat those tension patterns. Again, those problems before may have caused the problem to keep coming back and back and back.
Yes. And I think the fundamental difference is that you have to think about your body differently than what your previous practitioners have been looking at you like. It's got to change. And I show you exactly what that is and why it makes sense. And so this is completely new information. No other practitioner has ever told you. I can guarantee it. So
it's almost giving them some confidence. Hey, look, you're going to learn how to take care of your body. It's not the doctor's, it's not the chiropractor, it's the physical therapist's job. It's you're taking care of your body. Whatever you do in that is general knowledge or treatment isn't working for you.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
You have really no choice at that point, for one.
If it's not working for you, it's likely not the right treatment. Why isn't it the right treatment? Because of how that practitioner is approaching your problem, right? And so this is a completely different way of approaching these problems. 619 million people in the world with back pain. We must be getting something wrong in medicine. And I believe this book highlights what that big thing is that we're getting wrong.
That's why job security for me, my friend. That's why I always work.
Yeah, I'd rather not have job security. I'd rather move on.
And I tell people, I'd rather help you, get you better, so at that point I have someone else to worry about. I don't need to see you. If I see you, like I tell people, if I see you more than 2 weeks, you're not getting better, you're out of my office. Or something, I missed something. Let's get them right. Let's get something else done. We're on the wrong path here.
Yeah.
I have people that come to my office seeing a therapist a chiropractor for 6 weeks with no improvement.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just depressing for you and the chiropractor.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to see someone that long.
Right.
There's no help there.
Yeah. And this little toe issue that I've been wrestling with,
Yeah.
and I think I'm finally solving, this has kept me from running. I do trail running. And so that me not being able to do my trail running has really affected me psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this is just one little toe.
Just cut it off, Rick. Cut it off. You have 9 others.
Dr. Tony, I was ready to amputate the toe. I really was. I was just like, let's just get rid of this thing. So finally, I feel like I'm climbing out of it. But it really showed me, that these people, it's not just a physical issue, it's a psychological issue that they are wrestling with as a result. And I see it all the time on my coaching calls and telehealth visits. These people are depressed, frustrated, skeptical, angry. I mean, it's changed their life. And, if we can just, it affects so many other parts of their lives. Mm-hmm. To have an answer to this is not just answering a physical problem, it's also answering an emotional problem too, mm-hmm. which makes it very satisfying.
It almost, you're helping them, their quality of, not only the quality of their back pain, the quality of their life improves.
Absolutely.
And then they can be happy again, live normal life, and then learn how to not let it happen again.
Absolutely. They'll have control again.
That's key. So again, the book, Pain Patterns, Why You're in Pain and How to Stop It. The links are on Amazon. Check out the links for 1-2. I went there. That's where I saw all the outlines, how things worked out for 1-2. But once you buy the book, you get the audio access, the video access too. At that point, Rick will help you heal your body.
I believe so, or else I wouldn't have written it.
Well, let me see the book one more time for a quick screenshot of that.
Sure. Yeah.
With a quick classic Rick smile. All right.
How's that?
There. 1, 2, 3. Good. Perfect. All right, my friend. Thanks for watching the show. Check out his book, Heal Your Body. Chronic pain, as Rick said, affects you not only physically, but also emotionally and people around you. So you're not grouchy all the time. Fix your pain. And Rick, Rick stay in the back. You guys have a good day. Thanks for watching.